And welcome to the first segment podcast that we've got, or podcast segment. I've got that completely wrong, most likely. But we've got a new thing that we're trying out. So normally I have guests that come onto the show and I interview them. We talk about their origin story, their superpowers, and everything else. But I thought I'd get my buddies along, right? And we're going to put a new segment together called The Merge, and we're going to talk a little bit about that shortly. But before we even get started on that, I want to introduce my good buddy, and obviously he's been on the show before, Guil Lima. Guil, you're the bravest one. I sent this invite out to everybody, and you're the only one that turned up. How's it
That's
going,
your
man?
fault. Pretty good, can't complain. It's a Friday morning, sunny day. It's not foggy anymore outside. So just good news for us.
It's pretty cool, right? Yeah, we ran a poll on LinkedIn to see what we should call the show, and there was two options, and we got a astonishing, drum roll, please. 21 votes. I couldn't believe it. 21 people decided to vote on the name of this segment of the podcast for Code to Cloud. So at 62%, The Merge. A lot of developers, obviously, right? Because we like to merge our code bases. I mean, this one, though, the second one was my favorite, and I was hoping it would win, but it didn't, was the ping back. Because obviously, Gil, you probably relate to this. Well, we were networking guys, right? Back in the day. So when we saw that ping come back, right, that reply, we knew we weren't going to be pulling an all-nighter, right? Because the server came back online. So yeah, the merge is what it's called. So this is our, debut. But yeah, so Gil, what you been working on, man? What's top of mind for you this week in tech?
Yeah, as you said, we are from the old times of IT where ping was something, used to mean something for real, and it still does. But now we have a different framework, a different mindset. So it's hard for us to change our mindset and move our career perspective. So my biggest challenge right now is how can I bring this new environment, just those new technologies with AI to my daily work. So what I'm trying to do right now is try, okay, instead of starting everything brand new and throw away all the work from the past 18 years of my career, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to connect the dots with both of them together. So how can I connect infrastructure? That's my passion, and that's what I have been doing for my entire career with AI. But the way that my mind works is that I need to understand how AI works first so I can connect the dots with infra. So I spent a lot of time for the past few months understanding AI, how it works, how it was developed, where it came from, and then now I'm trying to connect everything with my daily work. So, for example, we have an event coming up the next week on the 17th where I'll be talking about security for AI, and that's one example of what I'm doing to connect those dots together. So, how can I improve security in the infrastructure for AI? So that way, I feel like I'm accomplishing something that was in my mind for a long time.
No, I completely agree, and great plug for the event as well. I like that. So if you're in the Calgary area, I'm going to put this out there, shameless plug. September 17th, 6 p.m. You can check us out on Eventbrite. We have a AI Frontiers event. We've got some amazing technical speakers coming, right? And we may also have a special guest at the end as well to close it. Stay tuned in for more news on that. But yeah, I was a bit like you. Like AI has been around for like ever, right? But it's only sort of got like the right branding. So or
Yes.
became useful. Is that the right way of looking at it? And in the last couple of years, and I was like the hype trains here, right? Personally, for me, it started becoming useful when ChatGPT and Copilot came around, right? Like for me in my life, those are my Achilles heels, right? Like I was never going to be an author, Gil, right? It was never going to happen, right? Like having AI around is really helps with that, and that's where I started my journey was around well, do I have to write these 20 pages or can I get someone else to write these 20 pages? Right.
Yes.
And the same happened with code and everything else. But like you, right? Like I've got more of a focus on apps and AI now in my day job. And it's incredible the landscape that's there now, the tools and the platforms, right? To get started on that. No matter what cloud you're on, to be quite
Yeah.
honest. Or if you're trying to run this privately as well. Like I know folks that are doing that with their own LLMs. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, something I was sort of reading was how do you even I was trying to think about it. I was trying to work back from the user because technical folks are like, what's the most exciting piece of that tech? Right.
Yes.
But I just didn't know where to start because I found it a bit overwhelming. But I don't know about you, but I got this thing called I found it on the MS Learn Docs page. Whoever put it together, someone needs to buy that person a beer, right? It's a pretty good document, but it's effectively creating a strategy for AI adoption because like everyone's talking about it. Everybody wants it in their organization, right? To add value to the organization or remove toil or whatever. But it's like, well, what is it you exactly want? Most folks don't know where to even start with that, right? So I think the first place people start with is automating business functionality or enhancing individual productivity. No, I need that a lot. You stick me in front of a terminal, right? And I'm self-motivated. I don't know about you, but like creating PowerPoints and stuff like that is it is what it is, right? It's all
Yeah.
part of the gig. But that's where, you can basically come up with a decision tree, right? Where to get started. And I gotta, take my hat off to the M365 team. Like the Copilot stuff is like it improves everyday lives, right?
Yes.
So most people think they need to go and build an app or a chatbot straight away, but I don't know. I feel like it's an easy win. Like I get it to break down complex tasks and everything. I don't know about you, but yeah,
I feel like working with the clients like what we do in a daily basis, they come up with some crazy ideas. Hey, I'd like to build this bot that's gonna do 20 tasks and trying to create something crazy at the other side. But I feel like they should step back a little bit and understand the AI a bit better. Because the thing is, the answer that you're gonna get from AI is as good as your question that you're asking to the AI. So I can give you an example. I was on a mountain bike trip last weekend with two friends. They are not from IT. One of them is accountant. The other one works with supply chain. And they use AI on a daily basis. One of them uses AI to create reports and review spreadsheets for him. The other one he was trying AI to build an app for supply chain management. And then I told them, hey, if I ask my mother, for example, hey, mom, can you use AI? She would go to Copilot and say, hey, can you give me a recipe for a carrot cake? So, and then it would come up with an answer. But let's try something different now. Give the AI some context and set some boundaries. For example, my name is Guil. I'm a cloud solution architect from Microsoft for the infrastructure team. I'm not a developer guy. I'm trying to pivot my career to that area. And my end goal here is to create a map that we're gonna do A, B, and C and D. But there are some limitations. Let's say, for example, I want a web app. It requires a login page. I'd like to use an open source database in the background, and I'd like to create like for example, a front end where I would add some news. For example, let's say for example, a blog. And then you also ask the AI, you're going to act like a web developer, a full stack developer, and you're going to ask me all the required questions until you make sure that you have all the answers so you can build the right app for me. So you are setting your context, you're setting the AI context, you're giving some boundaries, and then you're being clear in your end results and the tools that you're going to use in the between. So if I ask my mother, if for example, if I provide that prompt, it would ask me deep diver questions. For example, what kind of shell you're going to use here, what variables would like to use for A, B, and C. So it goes as deep as that. But if my mother asks the same, provide the same prompt and give the boundary saying, hey, I'm a regular person, an IT person at all. So don't ask me crazy questions, but ask me questions about design and that kind of thing. The results are going to be different, but I'm pretty sure that the answer at the other side would be a good answer, an expected answer. So that's going back to what I started with. We should help our clients first to understand how to create a good prompt, how to create a good answer, and connecting to your thought. If we teach our clients how to write a good prompt, they are probably gonna get the answer that they're looking for just for a prompt instead of from a full agent. So that's the idea that I came up with.
No, that's really good because this goes back like decades, if not centuries. I had a DBA friend that's a database administrator, right? And he was like all about data hygiene. And he would, I can't even repeat what he used to say, but he used to be like, if you put bad data in, you get bad data out, right?
Yes.
And that's the same with like AI tools. Like I don't know about you, but do you ever ask like the chatbot or Copilot or whatever it is? After I've done it all, I say, "Are you sure this is the best you can do?" And it goes, "Oh, actually, no, we could do this, this, and this, and this," and it always makes it 10 times better. I just
Yes.
like like it's gone away and had a think, and it's thought of a better way of producing whatever you've asked it to do. Right? I always find that like crazy because it gives you an alternative then, right? Like the before and after. But yeah, it is a lot, and I feel like to your point, maybe some help around how do you educate people to make better prompts? Because we did this when Google came out, right, in the late 90s. I don't know about you, but after a few years of using the Google search engine, you knew what to type, even though it didn't look like a proper sentence or structured in the right way, but you knew that the search engine would respond better to that, right? To get you the information that you needed. So yeah, it's I feel like people, should really delve into the strategy of why in the first place to make it successful, right? Because there's a there's loads of tools obviously that can help you out in different aspects, but really getting that strategy down. Like we used to do this with cloud in the first place, like the cloud adoption framework. But I'm gonna dub it the AI adoption framework. I don't know if we actually officially call it that, but yeah, what is it you need, and how is the end user gonna use it in the right way? But yeah, and once you got your strategy, you can plan, and then you
Yes.
become ready. You know, I see a lot of AI projects sort of stumble because I mean the skills aren't there yet, right? I don't know about you, but like we're trying to play catch up, right? Because something new comes out every day, so even having internal skill sets to do things is something that businesses need to consider.
But that's what excites me the most right now. Because, for example, we are infrastructure guys from, and then when we talk about infrastructure, that may be a bit biased about Microsoft here as a Microsoft employee. We have a cloud adoption framework. We have the work framework. We have a bunch of frameworks that helps our clients. We just basically need to follow those guidelines to have a safe and reliable environment for our clients and even for ourselves when we're developing something. When you talk about AI, even though we have the AI framework right now, we have the AI landing zone that gives us a base to start on top of it. It's still under development. If you check the release notes, you have updates every week for that. So, but at the same time, it excites me because it brings me the opportunity to do something that's relevant for the community. So I keep reviewing. As I said, I was working with security for AI. That's something that is under development right now, and I feel like every time I come up with an idea and I can post a comment for the community developing that framework, and I feel like I'm actively learning and sharing my knowledge with the community. So it excites me to be part of that somehow.
No, it's always evolving, right? And we did this with landing zones back in the day. To your point, right? Like
Yes,
that's where we started from. We didn't know what good looks like, and we've got that pretty well established now, right? And that keeps evolving as well.
yes,
So it'd be good to see what's happening. But yeah, like understanding that decision tree of which AI tool should I use first, I think is fundamental, right? It's sort of like the low code, like even scrap that, right? Like the shared responsibility model. Do you remember that from back in the day? Right? It doesn't really get talked about anymore. I still bring it up from time to time, but if it's SaaS, then the provider is responsible for all the services, right, and all the infrastructure and the security and everything else, right? You manage access, and then it goes to PaaS, right, and then the scale slides towards the customer more and more, right, until you get to IaaS, right, and you have even more control over the resources. But guess what? You're more responsible for it, that kind of thing. And then we get to bare metal, right, where you're responsible for the data center, everything, right, the chassis, the server, everything. And that's the same with AI, right? So how do you protect, to your point, governance of data is really critical as well. Like, even what does the AI have access to? You know, like we just saw, right, on that news article, was it the guy at, I'm gonna say SpaceX. I don't know, it was one of Elon Musk's companies, but it wasn't Tesla. It may have been Grok, right? The AI company that he's got. The dude uploaded the blueprints or something like that, right? The schematic, something really like highly sensitive to ChatGPT, and walked out the front door, right, with $7 million in shares. Just copied and pasted it into the chat, and off it went. And obviously, the AI at ChatGPT just consumed that, right?
I heard something about that from a CFO as well, a CFO of a big corporation. I can't
Yeah,
remember the name right now. He uploaded the company revenue data, like a spreadsheet for the revenue for the
yeah.
past year, and his competitor was researching, like, how can I improve my company based on the market and something like that, and they came up with the result of his concurrent.
It's crazy, right? And I've heard that one as well. And another one was I've heard companies that it's no fault, right? It's just the consequences can be quite severe sometimes. Is you're setting these things up and you just go, oh yeah, here's access to the top level root. I'm going to call it root. I'm not a SharePoint guy, right? But like top level, here's the root of SharePoint, and add access to everything, right, in the company. You know, some of those SharePoint sites are private, right? Maybe they're HR, maybe it's financial, that kind of thing, right? To your point. And internal employees were able to like do lookups on themselves and stuff like that, right? So you you know, you need to think about these things, right? In terms of what does it have access to. So yeah,
There
it's
is a workaround for all of that. We just need to educate everyone and say, hey, be mindful of what you're doing, where you're doing, and then if you're not sure, don't do it. Ask someone with more knowledge than you and come up
correct.
with the right solution for that scenario.
For sure, right? And again, it goes back to like that landing zone conversation was guardrails, you know, not sticking the resource out on the internet publicly.
Yes.
Because that used to happen, right? Because the cloud was the cloud, right? It was public. So it's the same for AI. It's like how do you create those gates so that, you know, OpenAI instance in Azure, right, has access to certain data resources? Or how do your developers have access? Maybe they only have access to Foundry, right? And not the actual OpenAI instance in the background, right? That kind of thing. It's like all automated, but it's gated, right? So, but yeah, that was a great conversation. I did want to segue a little bit because I like to do some things that are a little fun. Um, so you know our good friend Jacob, he likes to build his own operating systems, right? And
Don't blame him.
yeah, I mean,
I used to
so
do that in the past.
yeah, well, it is what it is. I used to merge Windows operating systems back in the day. And you're probably thinking, what happened there? How? So, quick story. So, do you remember Windows Millennium Edition?
Yeah. That shows your age.
It does show my age. It does show my age. As you can see, the poster behind me, Max Payne. I think it came out at the same time. So the problem was Windows ME was like a precursor to Windows XP. And there was some issues, is probably the best way. Stability wasn't its strongest point, but it was trying to launch like a new desktop environment. You could play videos pretty well. Like there was the new video player on there, right? I used to listen to like internet radio and all that kind of stuff on it, and like you could have themes. Do you remember themes in Windows, Guil? Like, so I'd have my Command and Conquer theme that I would port over from Windows 98. The problem is it wasn't stable, right? And everything else. Like go and look it up on the internet, right? But what I figured out was Windows 2000 got released. Windows 2000 was solid, absolutely solid, and was built on the NT kernel. So there was these two different kernel types that were being developed in the 90s and early 2000s. One was like DOS based with the Windows 98, Windows 95, Windows ME. Then we had the NT series and NT4, and then I don't know if Windows 2000 was NT5. I'm not too sure. I don't know if that was Windows XP or Windows XP was NT 5.1. I'm sounding like a complete nerd now, right? But I used to spend a lot of time telnetting and doing stuff in the terminal. Anyway, what I figured out was if I installed Windows ME first, because Windows 2000 was built for business use, so it didn't have things like media players and themes and everything else. You could do an upgrade, an in-place upgrade to Windows 2000. So what it would do is it would just replace the kernel base, but keep the desktop stuff. So you got all the multimedia and like the gaming stuff, because that's what was really important to me, right? Obviously, got to play Max Payne, right?
Yeah.
And so you get the best of both worlds. So I had like this rich desktop and I had the stability of Windows 2000. Right. I think 9 months after that, XP came out, and that was a combination of both. But it was weird that I was able to do that, right? But yeah. Anyway, back to the original thing I was trying to talk about. You get this a lot with me. Our friend Jacob, really clever guy, likes to build processors and operating systems. I think we've talked about this in the past, but he did a demo a few months ago where his complete desktop environment was this Linux Arch environment with Vim and everything else. So I thought I would try Vim out, Guil. Vim with the key bindings and everything on Mac OS. And it's fair to say I don't know what I'm doing. It looks cool. And basically you can use it as an IDE. So, as a development environment. But I feel like I might be swaying back to VS Code a little bit because I'll keep at it, but it probably is going to be like a 6-month project for me to get my head around it a little bit. But yeah, it's I know a lot of people are adopting it, but
There's a learning curve, right?
I mean, you can't use the mouse. I've been using a mouse for 30 years, if not more. So it's all key bindings, right? I mean, it was a big struggle for me to go from during Nano, the text editor, right? I love that thing. Absolutely love it.
I'm a Vim guy from the beginning.
I know you are, because you're a Red Hat guy, right? But I don't know why I even started off on Nano. I think it must have been back in the day. But
It's because I may be wrong here, but I think there was a time where it was VI and Nano, and then it upgraded to Vim. And when it was VI versus Nano, you had more functions and capabilities on Nano. For example, replacing content throughout the entire page, and that I can be wrong, but I believe that was introduced on Vim. And then when Vim came up, even the color segregation of the data on the page it also came on that. So it made life easier. But for me, I moved. I could use both, but I always was biased of between VI and Vim compared to Nano.
I think for me it was I could save the file, did it really easily in Nano. It was like Control, I'm gonna get this wrong, people are gonna be shouting at us, but like Control O right out and then just left, and because I wasn't really like terminal guy back then, but when I started doing like the Kubernetes certifications, you had to use Vim for everything to write those YAML files, right? So what is it? Control bang. Is it control bang to save the file? And I was like, what's bang? It's the exclamation mark on the keyboard. I know, right? It sounds absolutely wild, but this is my life, right? So yeah. Uh, have you tried any new software out this week? Anything new recently?
Um, I was running some tests, but just because I asked this question to Connor, and he gave me an answer, but not exactly the answer that I was looking
Not
for.
not not the easy answer, right?
No, it's because someone asked me this question a few weeks ago, and it rented like an apartment on my brain. And the question is, why did you choose, for example, Llama instead of OpenAI? And then because,
Olama
yeah,
instead of OpenAI.
yeah,
That's a good
and
question.
the reason for that it's because uh, I I was talking about the our last session on CNCF, and then with Dagger, and for that we used the Llama. And then I was explaining the hackathon that we delivered to someone, and they asked me, "Hey, why did you choose a Llama and not OpenAI?" And I said, "That's a good question. Let me ask Connor that." And then it was Connor. The answer that Connor gave me, it's for his tasks, what he usually do when he's working off offline data for local tests. He usually go with a Llama. But if it's something that needs to search for data on the web, he usually go with OpenAI. Uh, that's a good answer, but I never could figure out why. So I'm running some tests right now in my lab just to figure out, try to come up with my own reasoning behind that. So, what are the benefits of using one against the other, like speed, hallucination, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I did something similar a few weeks back. Um, I got a demo I've got to do in a few weeks, and I was like, "Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to containerize an LLM because I like to make my life hard, right?" So
That saves your pocket.
exactly, right. So I've got a local Kubernetes cluster I've got here at home, and 64 gigs of RAM. It's running Ubuntu core, right, and really lightweight, really fast. I think it's like an i9. So there was loads of things I learned along the way. The first thing was that you need a GPU for most LLMs, right? To do the compute side of things, because graphics cards are better set up for that, right? The way they're engineered, especially I think it's I'm going to say this right, the CUDA stuff from NVIDIA, right, is on fire, right? So I must have spent about 3 hours on this, and me and Copilot were chatting away. Like, why doesn't this work? Why doesn't this work? Right? I got it to work, and it crashed my cluster. Yeah, I didn't set the memory limits, so it just consumed 64 gigs of RAM immediately. So I text Connor, a bit like yourself, and he was, "Oh yeah, you need to use Olama Lite. Don't I was trying to deploy an actual instance of Olama in a home lab, which without substantial horsepower, right? I don't
It's
think it was
overkill.
is yeah, I don't think it's ever going to work, right? Like there was somebody we work with. He was it the new GPT-5. Like so you can go and get if you don't know what is it called Azure AI Foundry. You can go and get Foundry now and deploy it on a Windows laptop locally, right? And run the LLM locally. So it'll actually like stand up the LLM and make it easier, right, for you to get up and running. I mean, he had it on his gaming rig and he said it was struggling. He got it to work, but like I don't know what graphics card he had, but it was like the equivalent of like two PlayStation 5 Pros or whatever it is, right? It was unbelievable. So those are the things you got to think about, right? Like how are you going to power it? Like even getting it stood up. So from now on, I'm just going to cheat and deploy in Azure. I think, just
Yes.
to make my life a little bit easier. But yeah,
I
that's
was running that comparison not long ago because I read it somewhere that running your LLM in a EKS cluster is cheaper than running directly.
supposedly yes, that's right.
But
Yeah,
I didn't finish up the tests. I need more time to work on that one.
I think I think the jury's still out. But yeah, like I know that's been done where you're able to then chuck more workloads at it, right? So you can share the graphics. I'm gonna say the graphics card, like it's some sort of AGP. I'm showing my age there, right? Or PCI Express graphics card, but that's probably don't even build them like that anymore. But like basically,
It's a vGPU.
yeah, vGPU. It's attached to the motherboard, right? And but you want to be able to share that vGPU out, right? Exactly to your point. Like, how do I virtualize the GPUs on there to give access to more workloads, right? How do I shard it up? And then that is definitely a way that you can do it, right? Via AKS, so or a container based service. There's a bit more work to do, though. A bit more work to do. That's something I'm going to tackle at some point. Maybe
That
over
is so
the
much to learn. I mean, we don't have enough time for that.
I was thinking that maybe some time off over the holidays at the end of the year. I might try and do that. I do know someone has done it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
probably check the same article.
pretty cool. Yeah. Just trying to think else if there's anything else top of mind. I mean that's about it at the moment. Unless you've got anything else to add.
No, that was a great chat.
Okay. Yeah, it was a good chat. So we'll be back again in a few weeks. Hopefully Connor can make it. Unfortunately, he's not feeling very well today. And me and Guil are trying to be as sympathetic as possible. We really are, Connor. We really are. Yeah, it's
We did a sniper to find a spot in his calendar.
we do. He's a very, very sociable guy. We have to book time in with him, put it that way. But yeah, thanks. If you want to come on to the merge, like literally come and have a chat with us to talk about what's top of mind, then please get in touch on the socials. This is exactly what it's for, right? It's to open up to the community more so you can come on, and talk about what's top of mind for you in tech. But until then, thanks again for everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. So
Thank
bye
you.
for now.